where do we start this podcast? Do we just put it right here like that? All right. Well, here's the podcast. How y'all want me to start this thing? Native American Warrior Penguin Podcast 1. Is that right? Okay. We got Jake. We got Eric. We got Noah. And we got me. All right. So, who's got the first question? Jake? Now you done got quiet. What's the deal?
I got something. So,
all right, bring it on.
Just being from Lynchburg, around all that baseball, Lynchburg. You see how they made the World Series, the finals, I believe.
Who did?
University of Lynchburg.
Oh, really?
They're
Okay.
The finals, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
The College World Series, E3. So,
That's good. Well, good for them. I'm a Hampton-Sydney guy, and I've been away from a long time, but we Lynchburg, we always had our battles, and I've kind of been removed from that organization for a while, so I couldn't tell you how they're doing. Yeah. But they get after it. They put people into the seats and get going with it. I think one of the problems with college baseball, well, there's always problems with something. But I think what schools, the administration of schools, do to baseball, they knocked out fall ball, right? Saying that you're taking kids out of school. But check this out: you're taking kids away from class by letting them, spend time on the baseball field training to get better. And then you limit the amount of games and stuff like this. But here's what's crazy. This is a sport that you just can't walk out and play after 2 practices. You have to work at it. And if the kids are coming to your school and paying $50,000, $60,000 a year to play baseball, and then, I'll go to the biology class and blah, 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 blah. Why in the world don't you let them practice and play in the fall? It's the dumbest. There is no common sense in that. And the coaches, they can't say anything. Because if they say anything, first, they're not getting paid enough to begin with. They love the coach. They love what they're doing. But they can't say, because the people, the suits and the administrators, they're going to fire them. Does that make sense?
That's one thing why the junior college is starting to take off so much, so because they wrote us a nice loophole. We get to play 14 dates of outside competition each fall.
Right.
But then they say dates instead of weeks, so we could be 14 innings, 21 innings. We could play 36 innings if we had enough pitching.
Exactly.
And we can play those any day of the week we want to play on.
But that's, to me, this is an old school mindset of thinking, well, sports doesn't have anything to offer to an academician, going to college. Okay, I understand your academic argument. However, the money that's being dished out to get this academic excellence and knowledge is all predicated on whether you can play a sport. And they're going to say, well, that's not true. Yes, it is. And the ADs and the administrators and the people who won't say it in public, behind the back, yeah, they know it, right? Why do you have 65, 70 guys on a baseball roster when you can only play 9 at a time, and the majority of the teams are only playing or substituting in 15 or 16 because they're filling the beds for the schools to pay for the bills, the lights to be on. Does that make any sense?
Is that just baseball or other sports?
Oh my gosh, other sports? No, we got college. You got colleges starting teams and sporting things that doesn't even make sense. When you're giving kids scholarship to come to college to play video games, oh, Coach Fulton, you're being discriminatory against the E teams. Yeah, I guess I am. Because I just don't see that as I don't get that one. I know there's skill involved, and I understand that, but these are the things that are happening, and you're saying, well, originally you went to college to get to get a liberal arts education, to be a better citizen, to contribute to the community. And then it became, well, you go to college to get a better job so you can make more money, so you can be more successful. And now it's people are saying, well, why do we go to college? Well, why do you go to school? When a welder, I got 2 kids at a high school here in Virginia. They're going to graduate this year, and they're going to make $40, $50 an hour as a welder. As a welder. They got the prime, they're 18 years old, making $50 an hour. Why would you want to send him to a college and pay $50,000 a year and have to pay back $250,000 over a 50-year period? And they say, well, he's not getting educated. Boy, maybe we've got to redefine the term education, But those are the things that are going on. I tell you one of the worst things that I see is going into a school system that's in the inner city and giving young men athletic scholarships to get them out of the hood, okay? And I got that, giving them opportunity to grow, and I understand that 100%. But then you put them into the sports factory, and you teach them to be a warrior on the field. But after 4 or 5 years of doing that, they come out, and did they ever get any education? Did they ever learn how to write a check? Did they ever learn how to communicate and take care of themselves? I'm sure many places are working to improve that, but I don't see that being promoted as it is, winning the national championship. When we were coming through, and everybody said, well, you're going back to, it used to be this way. I'm not saying that our day was any better, but I'll tell you this. When you brought a kid over the over the TV, they said who he was, where he was in school, what he was learning, and what he was studying. That was kind of impressive to kids that would watch a ball game, But now it's about how much money he's going to make and go into the draft. How does that relate to the kids in the high schools and the junior high schools? Well, y'all got me going on the podcast. Look, are we all set up by? Am I getting set up by somebody?
Today's episode of Pranked.
Huh? Jake, you don't get paid enough to where you're at. We're not going to talk about the school that you're at because I know it's a wonderful, lovely school that would pay you everything they could if they could. But you are allowed to speak.
With scholarships, should the school put more emphasis on giving scholarships to people from places that would never attend the school if they weren't getting that scholarship? Or should they give those scholarships to local kids that were coming anyways?
Well, that's a loaded question there, Big Jake. First, that question has to be put into context. Most kids, it's a natural process. They want to get the heck away from home. They want to leave mom and dad and see the world and get out there, right? So even in my time at Avery College, when we started football, with all of the great football athletes that we had in the city of Danville and local, we couldn't get local kids to play. Why? You know why?
Now that incentivizing them to stay.
Well, they'd already done everything they could as a high school player, right? Why do you want to stay home and just keep on? They wanted to go out and see the world and go do things. So I think having scholarships for people to stay local and pay for them and help them out, yeah, I think that's good. But I think in the long term, you should be bringing people in from other places and having dialogue and having creativity and letting people see other things than other people. And so I think you should have scholarships. And a scholarship is nothing more than it's an accounting procedure, okay? If I'm owning a college, I know I got to have X amount of money to cover that guy eating and sleeping in my dormitory, okay? Now I can I can put one more person in that class, and I'm going to pay the professor the exact same amount of money if he's teaching 5 as if he's teaching 10. You see what I'm saying? So you can put people in, you can make things work.
So why do they limit baseball to 11.7 scholarships at the Division I level right now?
That's a very good question for the podcast. Very good question. Why do you have 11? What'd you say?
11.7 scholarships at the Division I level.
Because they're trying to say that they're doing something to, curb this rampant abuse of scholarships. But in reality, what are they doing with football? What are they doing with the bigger sports with bigger people? The people that are making lots of money for the school. They're going to figure out a way to let them do what they got to do. But clamp down on the smaller schools, the smaller programs that can't say anything. That's been the general consensus of other college coaches and people in the business. It doesn't make any sense. But they're doing that. I don't know the answer. And so what you do is you take a full scholarship and you break it up into quarters, right? And so if you give everybody a little piece of money, they feel at least they can say, I'm on scholarship. I got $500. Well, okay. But at least you got scholarship to go play. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think they also realize that baseball people, by design, would pay and would play. That's just what we do. We love to play. So, all right, I got to pay a couple $100. Okay. All right, here you go. Now can we go play? Well, you're not going to get a football guy to pay for squat.
It's interesting how football, basketball are full tuition sports like that.
Yeah, because people are making money off of them, right? You're not making money off of college baseball players. You've got certain schools or programs where there's a lot of people. Even when I went to UVA the other day and watched the game, it was nice. I love the guys at UVA. I know coaches there and stuff like that. But the atmosphere of the game was just, the community is an older community, more established, more academic, and all that kind of stuff. It was instead of having the 5,000 or 6,000 people that could have been there or more, you had a couple thousand that were taking time putting the mustard on their hot dog and only drinking one beer versus 4, and it wasn't like being down in Miami where it was a party, a crazy thing. It was more of a social event. So, but you go to a UVA football game, see what happens. Woo, God Almighty, it's crazy. And the money that they pay for tickets and everything else. So, I'll tell you another thing you want to look at. You look at how the media, or take a professional sport. Let's go to football, and how they portray the whole game, the halftime, the announcers, the shots, even the sponsors and what. And then start looking back at games in college at a D1, a D2. They all are trying to copy what they're seeing in the NFL. You go to Major League Baseball, they're all trying to copy what they're doing with Major League Baseball. Does that make sense? Do you know the one thing that was done in the history of baseball that brought fans back to the game? Because back in the early 80s, mid 80s, a lot of people weren't going to baseball games.
Mark McGwire and Barry Bonds hit 500-foot home runs.
Yeah, well, that was some events. That was a thing for those people that were following the game. But there was one thing that happened to all of sport, and it started with something they did at a baseball game. They put the jumbotron out there, and when they put the jumbotron, which is the big TV, and they started scanning between innings, the fans, people all of a sudden started seeing their image up on the jumbotron, and people started packing it in, coming just to get on the kiss cam or just to get caught dancing, right? And once that happened, everybody started coming to the games again. And you go back and you could go back and look at it and say, oh my God, is this true? Yes. So, Major League Baseball, boom. everybody started having a Jumbotron. Then the minor league teams, well, God, we got to do it. They started having it. Then you go to your D1 schools, like your Carolinas or your Clemsons or stuff like that. Some of them have it, some of them don't, but they were at least having it, right? And all the promotion that goes along with it, all of the gimmicks and whatever, boom, there you go. All in an effort to entertain and bring people into the stands. So that takes you to today, 2023, Savannah Bananas. Let me tell you about the Savannah Bananas real quick. God bless them. I like what I'm glad they're showcasing and doing a thing, and they're doing a Globetrotters, stuff. I got a player on their team and whatever. But the gentleman who organized all that and has done a good job with it. He saw the need for entertaining people. And if you go to a ball game, a lot of times that's not very entertaining. You gotta, well, that's all I can say. I had the German national team. I brought them all across the pond, took them down to Atlanta, had free tickets. They were so excited. They were all running around. They caught me on a Jumbotron. I'm asleep. I was asleep. I was bored to death, But, oh, damn. Coach, was ist das? You are sleeping. I said, oh, my bad. I'm sorry. But but that's what they do. They got all, we got to go, we're going to have to take y'all to a game. We got to take them to the Durham Bulls. And they need to see the Durham Bulls game. And then you need to go see, then we ought to, the next day, go see the Greensboro Grasshopper game and watch how they try to entertain everybody. They'll how they have the little puppet, the little mascots run around the field.
I was about to say, in Pittsburgh back home, I'm used to bad Pirate baseball. I didn't grow up with like Bonds or Clemente or Stars or none of that.
Yeah.
But we were sucking for a long time, but people would come to see those pierogi races.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. There was a guy named Bill Veck. And now I'm telling you, this is crazy history. You really should go back and look. Bill Veck was with the White Sox. And Bill Veck, I think that's his name, I'm almost positive. Yeah. But he would come with all these crazy things, right? He would have Rocket Man come in one day, or he would have beer for $1 day, or just anything they could do to entertain and get people in. One day he made a boo-boo, I forget what it was, but it was something like 25-cent beer day or some kind of record day, and the team was really doing bad, and the fans just rebelled, and they started throwing it was bottled beer, and they were shucking bottles or something like that, and it became a very riotous situation. So
also famous for putting Eddie Gladell in a cake.
Eddie Gladell, I don't remember that one.
He's the shortest baseball player ever.
Oh,
like
yeah.
3'7" or something.
Yeah.
Also known for planting the seeds of ivy at Wrigley Field.
Yep. Well, and see, when you go pre-World War II into the years of the 1900s to the 1930s, you didn't have TV, you didn't have everything. People, when the weather got warm in the Chicagos and the New Yorks and the DC and Pittsburgh and stuff like that, they went outside and they went to the game. I mean, they dressed up in coat and tie. I mean, it was a thing to get away from the dull and go out and do. So entertainment changed, and along with society. He was talking about Bill Veck. I mean, the little midget. They had a guy. They signed a guy to a contract. He probably was 3'5", 4 foot little guy.
Yeah.
Right. They signed it, sent him up to hit.
Yeah.
And he was so small they couldn't, and he couldn't play a position. His job was to go up there and pinch hit, get a walk, and go to first base. And if I remember correct, he got to first base and they ran for him. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
But everybody came to see. Oh my God, that's cool. There was another person called Morgana. You know about Morgana? Morgana was the kissing bandit. And this was a lady who, she must have lifted weights because she had the biggest chest. I mean, she was just like, bam! It was like she could, and she would be sitting in the stands in Atlanta. I hope I'm going the right way. and all of a sudden she would just jump out of the stands and go